Good day, everybody, and welcome back to science. Let me finish taking roll and we'll go ahead and get started. Looks like nobody here, everybody absent. Okay, let's come on over here. We're going to continue with the skeletal system where we left off. Some of you probably have heard of this guy before, but I don't know if you knew or not. We do have, we are lucky enough here at Sowers to have a couple of dead bodies in our science department, which is kind of unusual. And one of them lives in this closet right here. His name, I don't know what his name is, but we'll just call him Bob for now. And he is actually a skeleton. So he was once a living, breathing person. And before you start asking all these questions, I don't really know too much about him. A long time ago, you were able to donate your body or sell your body to science for probably like $50 or something, and then they'd use your skeleton or your body for education. A lot of the volunteers were from India, and I don't know how he died. He's an average person. He was a male. But like I said, we don't know too much about his personal story. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our skeleton. Please do not touch. And we'll go ahead and bring him out right here. So here he is. And a lot of information can be found in this super duper old papers right here. You can see probably older than me. This is where it talks about where these guys came from, but you could read that later. Okay, so this is a real skeleton. Obviously parts of him are fake. A lot of the parts, like his cartilage, ligaments, tendons, they had to be removed, and they would get all rotten and gross, so they've been replaced by these metal joints and hinges, things like that. The markings on him are also fake, obviously. We don't have bones that have insertion and origin points for all of our muscles, but that's what these all are. And then another little spring right here. So I'm going to teach you guys about the different bones on the skeletal system. Starting off with the head, we're going to be using scientific names in our class. And the skull or head is sometimes referred to as the cranium. And a human skull is actually made up of several different plates that when you're born, they're all separate, and then they eventually come and fuse together. Think Pangea, the Earth's continents fusing together into one. So that's what happens, and if you could see here, you can see all these little fissures and lines where the plates fuse together. Now, this is obviously fake. This was cut. This is so that you could take the brain out. And there is a brain in this guy, so I'll go ahead and open this up and we'll take a look inside of his cranium. And there we've got a little stress ball brain, which is not really a brain. But anyways, this is where they took out the brain because that would obviously rot and get all gross. Okay. So that is the skull. And then down here, we've got this thing right here. This lower jawbone is called the mandible. Okay, so if you can talk and say, pay attention, stop using your iPad. Moving on. The neck bones, also known as the vertebrae, are down the back right here. And in your neck, you have 7 what are called cervical vertebrae. So if you have a cervical injury, that's a neck injury. Okay, and those are all right down here. The top 2 vertebrae, the one that your skull sits on, are called the axis and the atlas. Think Greek mythology. Atlas holding up the world. Okay, so Atlas holds up your skull, and then the axis tilts around it, allowing your head to move in a back and forth motion, just like that. Moving down here, you've got 12 thoracic vertebrae. Okay, these are in your chest region, and then 5 lumbar vertebrae. Okay, those are your lower back. And an easy way to remember that is think about your meal times. Okay, ordinarily, you're going to eat breakfast at 7 in the morning. That's 7 cervical vertebrae. What time is lunch? Very good, 12 o'clock, noon. So that would be 12 thoracic vertebrae. And then what time is dinner? Dinner time is at 5. That'd be 5 lumbar vertebrae. And then right below the last lumbar vertebrae, there's a fused bone here with several fused vertebrae, which is called the sacrum. Okay, sacrum. And then at the very end, right down here, you have your tailbone. This is called the coccyx. Those of you that saw Napoleon Dynamite, okay, Napoleon's grandmother was dirt bike riding or something, and she broke her coccyx. Okay, and that's your tailbone. All right, moving back to the front. Okay, right over here, you've got your collarbone, also known as the clavicle. You could feel that one right along here. And that is attached to this chest bone. Okay, the sternum is your breastbone right there, and you can see all of these ribs attached to it. And you've got a couple ribs that aren't attached to the front here. Okay, these are the floating ribs. Now this is all brown because it got kind of rotten over the years. Oh no, I'm just kidding. This is actually fake as well. This is where cartilage would be attached. So they don't have cartilage in here because that allows your chest to expand and retract as you're breathing. All right, moving on to the back. One of my favorite bones right here. This is kind of an irregular shaped bone, kind of like a shovel. This is your scapula. Scapula bone right back here. Moving back over here. Let's see, this little nub right here is called the xiphoid process. And let's get on to the arm bones. Okay, this long bone right here is called your funny bone. Why is it called your funny bone? Yes, because its scientific name is humerus. Okay, so funny. Very good. All right, and then you've got 2 lower arm bones. Right here, you've got the radius, and on the outside, you have the ulna. Sorry, flip-flop that. The radius is on the outside, the ulna is on the inside. This is when a body is in what's called anatomical position, hands and arms out like this. So the radius is on the outside. What do you think of when you hear the word radius? Yes, math. I love math. So the radius of a circle, and the top part of the radius is kind of like a circle. I know it's kind of hard to see here, okay, but it rotates back and forth, okay, as you move your arm in this sort of motion, okay, the radius. Okay, right here, you've got several hand bones, little hand, wrist bones rather. These are called the carpals, and each one of the carpals has its own name, like lunate and pisiform and other names that I can't remember, but we're just going to remember these little rock-like bones are called the carpals. And then the hand bones right here, okay, these are your metacarpals. And then all of your little finger and toe bones, okay, are called the phalanges. So if you can remember the word phalanges, you've just learned about 50 different bones. All right, very good. Moving on, let's go down to the hip bone, okay. This is called the os coxa, and it's composed of different parts, the ilius, the pubic bone, and the ischium on the backside. We're just going to learn the pelvic bone. And then the largest bone in the body, right here, is the femur. Okay? If you broke this bone, that would be considered a life-threatening emergency because you've got an artery that runs right in here called the femoral artery, which can, if it gets severed during the breaking of the femur, okay, you could bleed to death internally. Kind of gruesome here. So this guy is nice and flexible. Okay, so on his leg right here, we've got your kneecap, okay, also known as the patella, and then your shin bone, okay, that your shin guards protect when you're playing soccer. Okay, this is called the tibia. And then on the outside, the smaller bone, leg bone, is the fibula. So it's not tibia and fibia, it's tibia and fibula. Fibula. Okay, and then we've got more ankle-type bones right here. Okay, rock-like bones. This right here is the These are called the tarsals. Okay, and your big heel bone is called the calcaneus. And more foot bones, okay, called the metatarsals. And then what were these toe bones called again? Yes, phalanges. Very good. Okay, now we've covered almost all the bones on this guy, but there are some that we haven't covered, namely the smallest bones in your body. Point to where the smallest bones in your body are located. That's right, in your ears. So right here, you've got the ossicles, which are the 3 smallest bones located in your inner ear. Okay, the stirrup, the anvil, and the hammer. Okay, the scientific names are the stapes, the incus, and the malleus, and those help with your hearing. All right, hope everybody is doing well. In your textbook, there is a diagram of all the different bones right here on page 519. Okay, not all the ones are covered on here, but you guys could go online, I'm sure, and find all kinds of skeleton diagrams and all that. All right, hope you're doing well, and those are all the different bones in a closet. Thank you.